Welcome to the Phil and H Travel Podcast. Is it worth it?
Glad to be diving into this one.
Yeah, so today we are exploring Sifnos. And for those uninitiated, this is a relatively small Cycladic island sitting quietly in the Aegean Sea.
Very quietly.
All right. And as we look at the travel landscape in 2026, I'm going to make a bold claim right out of the gate.
Oh boy, let's hear it.
It is, without question, the most food-obsessive island in all of Greece.
That is bold, but honestly, the data backs it up.
Exactly. So in this deep dive, we are going to explore the granular reality of that claim. We'll cover exactly what it, actually costs to get there, to stay there, and obviously to eat there.
Right.
We're going to examine why Michelin-starred chefs quietly take their personal, off-the-radar holidays on this specific rock.
Which is a huge indicator of quality, by the way.
Totally. And we'll talk about how the food story alone justifies the ferry ticket. Plus, we'll reveal 3 very specific logistics traps that completely blindside and, well, catch visitors out every single season.
Yeah, we are definitely going to break down the highly specific calendar windows for visiting, too, because timing is everything.
Oh, absolutely.
I'll tease right now that September is the target, specifically due to an internationally recognized gastronomy festival that just reshapes the island's entire economy for a week.
I cannot wait to get into that. The mission today is to filter all of this data and give you the full, honest verdict across 5 distinct traveler types.
Right. So where do we start?
Well, let's get into it. Because to really understand why Sifnos is so fiercely, almost militantly obsessed with its food, we can't just look at the island in a vacuum.
No, you need the regional context.
Right. We first have to look at the current, honestly chaotic state of its famous neighbors. Like, Sifnos offers this stark alternative, but an alternative to what exactly?
Well, an alternative to a system that has fundamentally broken down under its own weight. I mean, you simply cannot understand the financial and logistical value proposition of Sifnos without understanding the sheer chaos unfolding just a few ferry stops away.
You're talking about the big ones.
Yeah, look at Santorini and Mykonos right now in 2026. The over-tourism situation on those islands reached such a critical, unmanageable mass that the local governments finally pushed through a non-negotiable €20 per person disembarkation tax.
20 euros?
Yeah. Just to physically step off a cruise ship and set foot on the dock, you are paying €20.
That's insane.
It is currently the highest per-passenger disembarkation tax in the entire European Union. It is collected right at the port, and there is zero negotiating it.
And the staggering thing, the thing that absolutely blows my mind, is that it completely and utterly failed to act as a deterrent.
Of course it did.
Right. Like,
Right.
when this was announced, it was billed to the public as this massive over-tourism management strategy. It was supposed to thin the crowds, but what was the reality on the ground?
The reality is Santorini still received over 1 million cruise passengers last year.
Exactly. 1 million people just paid the 20 euros like it was an unavoidable toll booth on the Aegean Sea and went right back to standing shoulder to shoulder in the blazing heat.
Which proves a fundamental economic rule about modern luxury travel. The demand is entirely inelastic.
Yeah.
The tax didn't deter anyone. It merely became a highly lucrative revenue stream for the municipality. And then you look at Mykonos.
Oh, Mykonos is a whole other story.
It remains exorbitantly expensive, firmly sitting as one of the priciest destinations in Southern Europe. If you are aiming for a standard, thoroughly mid-range experience on Mykonos right now,
Like, nothing crazy, right?
right, nothing lavish, just decent hotels and average restaurants, you are looking at 200 to 400 euros per person per day.
Wow.
That is the baseline floor for an average trip. Now, take that staggering context and look at Sifnos.
It's night and day.
Sifnos is located in the exact same island group, right? The Western Cyclades. It is served by the very same ferry line departing from Piraeus. The water's the exact same color, but the crucial, defining logistical difference.
Let me guess.
Sifnos has no airport, it has no cruise ship dock, and it has no entry tax beyond Greece's standard climate levy, which sits between 4 and 15 euros per night and applies equally across the entire country.
I want to linger on that lack of infrastructure for a second, because I think it is the secret ingredient to the island's soul.
How so?
Well, because it lacks a runway and because it physically cannot dock a 10-story cruise ship, it has preserved something truly rare. Sifnos has, by any honest culinary measure, far better food than either of its famous neighbors.
Oh, undoubtedly.
The food culture here isn't a tourist attraction, it's a deeply held local religion. And the reason for this traces back to one specific, incredibly influential man, Nikos Tselementes.
His impact on Greek culture, honestly, it cannot be overstated.
Right.
Nikos Tselementes was born on Sifnos in 1878. He left the island as a young man, trained in the grand hotel kitchens of Vienna, eventually made his way to New York, and he absorbed all these highly structured, sophisticated international techniques.
But he came back.
He did. He returned to Greece, and in 1910, he published a cookbook that fundamentally re-engineered the country's culinary landscape. I mean, he introduced things like bechamel sauce and bouillabaisse into the Greek vernacular, formalizing a cuisine that had largely been passed down through oral tradition.
It's wild to think about a single book having that much power over a whole country.
Yeah.
It became the definitive reference for Greek home cooking for well over a century. You can go to a bookstore in Athens right now, and revised editions are literally still in print today.
It's everywhere.
Greeks don't even call it by its title. If a grandmother is cooking, she just refers to the book as the Tselementes. It is the culinary Bible.
Yeah.
And Sifnos honors that legacy with an intensity that you just have to respect.
They really lean into it.
Every September, the island hosts the Nikolaos Tselementes Festival of Cycladic Gastronomy. It is a massive multi-day event. It features free entry, free food tastings, and it brings together both global and traditional Greek chefs.
Free entry and free food is rare these days.
So rare. And to give you a sense of its longevity, the 2025 edition was the 17th iteration, and the upcoming 2026 edition is running in late September.
The existence of that festival and the historical shadow of Tselementes himself creates a highly tangible, practical result for anyone visiting the island today.
Which is?
Because of this deep-rooted, island-wide culinary pride, the standard of even the most basic, unassuming taverna is kept incredibly high. The baseline is elevated. You have unparalleled taverna standards across the board. You can walk into a local spot, sit in a plastic chair, and order a bowl of Revithada.
Oh, the chickpea stew.
Exactly. This is a glorious traditional chickpea stew, but it's not just boiled chickpeas. It is cooked overnight, usually for 12 to 15 hours, in a specially designed wood-fired ceramic pot.
Wow.
That bowl of stew will cost you just 7 to 9 euros. And objectively speaking, the depth of flavor in that 9 euro stew absolutely beats a 40 euro modern, deconstructed Greek plate in a high-end Athens restaurant.
Okay, I want to pause right there, because I have to push back on this framing a little bit.
Okay.
I hear you praising this historical baseline, but let's really think about it. When you compare Santorini's 20 euro tax to what's happening on Sifnos, Santorini's tax feels like a theme park entry fee. Right?
Sure.
You pay the gate toll, you ride the roller coaster. Sifnos doesn't have that artificial gate. But I have to ask, does holding every single local taverna to a rigid cookbook standard from 1910 actually stifle modern culinary innovation?
Stifle? No.
I wouldn't say that. Well, is the ghost of Tselementes keeping these chefs trapped in the past? Or is it, as you're implying, the ultimate form of quality control?
It is the ultimate quality control, without question. And the mechanism of why that works is important. Innovation without a solid foundation is just novelty. It's foam on a plate for the sake of an Instagram photo.
That's a fair point.
Right. What the Tselementes standard does is ensure that the baseline, the absolute floor of what you will be served anywhere on the island, is structurally sound, historically accurate, and objectively delicious.
So they aren't stuck in 1910.
No, you aren't getting trapped in 1910. The chefs are absolutely experimenting. But you are being protected from the careless, corner-cutting, overpriced tourist food that completely plagues places like Mykonos. Sifnos provides a culinary floor that is higher than the ceiling on most other islands.
I love that phrase, a culinary floor higher than the ceiling elsewhere. It's an anchor, not a chain. It keeps the quality from floating away. And the very fact that Sifnos draws people who are actively seeking out slow-cooked stews rather than rapid fire, cruise ship selfies perfectly dictates the island's unique seasonal rhythm.
It's a self-selecting crowd.
Exactly. The type of person who waits 15 hours for a chickpea stew to bake is a different type of traveler, which naturally transitions us into the crucial strategy of when you should actually go, because timing your arrival on an island this intentional is everything.
It is. If you are mapping out a trip, you must understand the seasonal arc of Sifnos. It does not operate like a year-round city. There is a specific outstanding window that most Western visitors completely miss because they are tethered to the traditional school holiday calendar.
So true.
Let's break the calendar down chronologically. May and June are the ideal opening window. The island is warm, It's dry, and it is fully operating post-Easter, which is when the local businesses paint the streets and open their doors.
The energy then is so fresh.
And the financial logic for visiting in this window is undeniable. Accommodation is actively running at 30% to 40% below the August peak rates.
And beyond the math, the experience on the ground in May and June is pure magic. Let's talk about the beaches, specifically Platistialos, Vathy, and Apokofto. In June, they actually have physical space.
You don't have to fight for a spot.
Exactly. You can stroll down to the sand and lay out a towel without elbowing a stranger or fighting over a sunbed. And if you're a walker, the island's extensive network of ancient hiking trails are totally passable because you aren't fighting that brutal, punishing August heat on every single uphill climb.
The heat is a major factor.
It really is. And the tavernas, this is my favorite part of early summer. The staff aren't rushed. They have the physical time and emotional energy to talk to you, to explain how the dishes were prepared, and to actually spend time lingering at your table.
That is a qualitative benefit, certainly. But if we were talking about the absolute peak intersection of financial value, cultural experience, and climate, September is the single best month to be on Sifnos in 2026.
The golden month.
Yes, the manic summer peak clears out entirely. Families return home, and late September brings the Tselementes Festival. Let me explicitly repeat the logistics on that event-free entry, and all food tastings are included.
Which is incredible.
It is the most robust culinary event on any Greek island, period. Furthermore, the Aegean Sea has been baking under the sun all summer long, so the water temperature stays incredibly warm well into October.
Oh, September swimming is the best swimming.
And from a pure cost perspective, accommodation drops sharply from the August highs, returning to those shoulder season rates.
Just picturing it makes me want to book a ticket right now. The visual reality of September is stunning. The 6 p.m. light over the ancient village of Kastro, or hitting the white walls of the Chrissopigi Monastery, it is a photographer's absolute dream.
The lighting is perfect.
It's that rich, golden, perfect light that you only get when the dust of the summer has settled.
Yeah.
Now, as beautiful as that is, we have to talk about the months you really need to be careful with. The danger zone. July and August.
July and August are the explicit warning months. The island is intensely busy, it is highly expensive, and most critically, Sifnos has a finite, hard limit on capacity.
They just don't have the beds.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because they haven't built massive mega resorts, the island literally sells out of beds. If you want to go in July or August, you must secure your bookings 4 to 6 months in advance.
Wow, half a year.
Yeah. And the transport costs surge to match the demand. High-speed ferries jump to 55 to 75 euros per ticket, compared to just 40 euros in the shoulder season.
That adds up fast.
My blunt logistical advice is this. If you have calendar flexibility, avoid August entirely. If you are locked into August due to work or school constraints, book your logistics immediately. Today.
It's just not worth the stress of fighting for scraps. But if you push past the summer, you hit October to early November, which is this fascinating, often overlooked late season window.
A very strategic window.
Right. The core tavernas and hotels stay open. Prices drop another 20% to 30% from the already reduced September rates. I think it is the absolute best time for hiking because the air is cooler, the trails are whisper quiet, and there is almost no sun risk.
It's great for active travelers.
It's an incredibly perfect window for couples or digital nomads who want to retreat.
It is the exact moment the island returns to its local rhythms. You get to witness the authentic operational Sifnos. Then, finally, we have winter. From November through to March or Easter, the island effectively closes to tourists.
Let down tight.
Ferry frequency drops sharply due to winter storms. Unless you are specifically seeking extreme, isolated solitude, winter is not the time to deploy your travel budget here.
Wait, I need to challenge this framing of October and November for a second.
Okay.
You hear travel people throw this phrase around all the time, oh, the island returns to its local rhythms, but let's be real. Is returning to local rhythms just a polite travel industry euphemism for everything is closed, you can't get a drink, and you'll be profoundly bored?
I reject that entirely. It is a logistical reality, not a marketing euphemism.
Explain that.
Local rhythms means the islands is no longer artificially catering to the manic, rapid turnover demands of a 2-week tourist who needs a cocktail at 2 p.m. The bakeries are still open, the grocery stores are open, and crucially, the core tavernas that feed the actual year-round residents are fully operational. You are trading access to 20 different identical tourist-facing menus for exclusive access to the 3 deeply authentic kitchens that the locals actually rely on.
Okay, I see what you mean.
It's a distillation of the island, not a closure. And financially, capturing that 20% to 30% price drop while still having warm enough seawater to swim is an incredible arbitrage opportunity for a savvy traveler.
Okay, that's a fair defense. It's a filtration system. It filters out the tourists who need constant entertainment and leaves the dedicated travelers who just want to exist in a beautiful place.
Exactly.
And knowing exactly when you are going heavily dictates the reality of how you arrive, which sets the entire psychological tone before you even step off the boat. The journey is the start of the trip. So let's look at those first impressions.
The physical journey to Sifnos dictates a lot of the island's character. Since there is no airport, you are departing from Piraeus, the massive main port complex in Athens.
Which can be chaotic.
Highly chaotic. You have 2 primary options.
Yeah.
The Sea-Jet's catamaran takes about 2 to 3 hours, and an economy ticket sits at €40.50. Alternatively, you can take the Cycleads fast ferries or Aegean Sea Lines, which are larger conventional vessels. These take 4 to 5 hours, but run for roughly the same base price.
And I want to jump in and say that the time difference between a 2-hour catamaran and a 5-hour conventional ferry is not something to brush off. It really matters to how you feel when you arrive.
It absolutely matters, primarily due to the weather mechanics of the Aegean. The western Cyclades route can get incredibly choppy and strong winds.
Oh yeah, the Meltemi winds.
Yes, if the infamous Meltemi winds are blowing hard down from the north, that 5-hour conventional ferry can become a severe test of physical endurance. You need to book July and August sailings well in advance to secure the right boat, but in the shoulder season, you usually just need a week's notice to lock in a ticket.
And then, after navigating Piraeus and surviving the sea, you arrive. The ferry pulls into the port of Kamaris. And I cannot stress enough how distinctly different this feels from arriving at other Cycladic islands.
It's very understated.
It really is. You pull into this long, deep, exceptionally calm bay bordered by a beautiful sandy beach. There are absolutely no towering high-rise hotels. There is no chaotic waterfront strip flashing neon signs for Irish pubs or shops selling cheap, mass-produced souvenir t-shirts.
None of that.
The light bouncing off the hills is incredibly clean and brilliantly white.
The sensory shift from Athens to Kamaris is immediate. You step off the metal ramp of the ferry, and the air physically smells different. It's a distinct blend of wild mountain oregano and sharp salt air.
The smell is incredible.
And the soundscape, or rather the lack of it, is striking. The moment the massive ferry engine cuts out and the boat pulls away, there is just near silence. You are immediately confronted with the quietness of the island.
I love that exact moment. I always compare arriving on Sifnos to showing up at a good friend's house while they are right in the middle of cooking a complicated dinner.
That's a good analogy.
There's no grand red carpet performance at the front door. No one is putting on a theatrical show to impress you. It's just a warm, subtle nod and an unspoken invitation to pull up a chair, sit down, and seamlessly join the rhythm they are already deeply engaged in. It feels incredibly grounding.
It is entirely unpretentious,
Yeah.
but logistically, the port of Kamaris is just your entry point. The island's capital, Apollonia, doesn't sit on the water. It was built up in the center of the island to protect against historical piracy.
So you have to travel inland.
Right. To get there, you catch a local bus right at the port. The ticket is €1.80, and it takes you on a 20-minute ride, slowly winding up through these beautifully engineered, stone-terraced hillsides.
That €1.80 bus ride is basically a decompression chamber for your soul. It climbs up into the hills and drops you right into the pedestrian center of the capital. And it usually happens just as the evening light is settling over the whitewashed alleys and the tavernas are firing up their kitchens for the night.
It's very atmospheric.
The smell of wood smoke starts drifting through the streets, which means the bus leaves you directly on the literal doorsteps of where you'll be sleeping. Sifnos is basically divided into 5 distinct geographic zones, and choosing where you drop your bags changes everything about your daily experience and your budget.
Correct. You cannot treat the island as a single entity. You have to choose your zone strategically based on your goals.
Break down the zones for us.
The 5 zones are Kamaris, which is the port where you arrive,
Huh?
Apollonia, the central elevated capital, Artemonis, which is a slightly more elegant, historically aristocratic village situated just next to Apollonia, Platisgialos, which serves as the main beach area, and Vathy, the remote, enclosed beach cove.
Okay, let's start with the backpacker budget. Where are they staying?
Kamaris is your most honest, functional base. You have Hotel Bulis, situated right on the sand of the beach.
Right on the beach. That's amazing.
Yeah. If you travel in the shoulder season, you are paying a highly reasonable 30 to 50 euros a night. If you get pushed into the peak summer, it scales to 55 to 75 euros. A major logistical advantage of Buli is that it features a fantastic on-site taverna called Kafinis, removing the need to travel for every meal.
That is super convenient.
Alternatively, if a backpacker wants to be up in the capital, Carides in Apollonia runs 35 to 55 euros in the shoulder season. This places you directly within walking distance of the island's top-tier restaurants and transit hub.
Moving up a tier, for mid-range couples, the options are honestly stunning. The value for money here is wild.
Very strong value.
The Smaraghi Hotel up in Apollonia is incredible.
Yeah.
It runs 90 to 130 euros a night. It features this beautiful traditional stone architecture, but here's the best part. It sits right on the E4 hiking path. You can literally step out of your room and start walking the ancient trails.
Location is excellent.
If you want something a bit quieter and more isolated, Gerafinika's boutique hotel near Kastro is 85 to 125 euros, offering these incredibly peaceful, uninterrupted views of the Aegean Sea. And if you absolutely have to be near the sand, Hotel Platos Giallos, located right at the main beach, runs 95 to 140 euros.
For families, you require entirely different infrastructure. You need space and amenities. Hotel Petali Village in Artemonas is the standout recommendation here.
Oh, I've heard great things about Petali.
It peaks at 110 to 170 euros a night in peak season, but crucially, it features a swimming pool and provides a much more relaxed, spacious environment than the dense pedestrian center of Apollonia.
A pool is essential with kids.
Yes. If the family prefers the coast, Nereides Hotel down at Platos Giallos offers dedicated family rooms for 100 to 155 euros, and you are positioned a mere 100 meters from the water.
And then we reached the top-tier luxury. Verina Terra, which is situated just slightly above Platos Giallos, is widely considered the absolute benchmark for luxury on the island. It runs 280 to 450 euros a night.
A significant jump in price.
But it is famous locally for serving what many consider to be the absolute best breakfast on the island, sourced entirely from local producers. Up in the capital, you have the Nival Boutique Hotel in Apollonia, which is running 200 to 320 euros. The attention to detail and service there is phenomenal. They boast a 9.4 on Expedia. Or you have Starte luxury apartments at 180 to 280 euros, providing incredible privacy.
Which brings up a vital logistical point regarding market context. Luxury on Sifnos is certainly expensive relative to the baseline local economy, but it's vastly cheaper than the equivalent luxury market on Santorini or Mykonos.
Okay, I have to jump in here and completely disagree with you.
Oh, why is that?
I vehemently disagree with this framing of luxury on Sifnos. Paying 450 euros a night to stay at Verina Terra completely contradicts the entire authentic, unpretentious home cooking spirit of Sifnos that we literally just spent 10 minutes praising.
How does it contradict it?
If you lock yourself in a 450 euro whitewashed compound with private, hyper-attentive service and curated breakfasts, you are isolating yourself from the heartbeat of the island. You aren't experiencing Sifnos, you're just experiencing an expensive hotel that happens to have a Sifnos zip code. You're missing the point of the island entirely.
I will bluntly counter that logic because it relies on a false dichotomy. You are confusing cultural authenticity with mandatory asceticism.
Asceticism?
Yes. A traveler is entirely capable of appreciating a humble 9-euro bowl of Revithada, cooked by a local grandmother at a plastic table, and still rationally wanting a high thread count sheet, exquisite air conditioning, and a private pool when they go to sleep at night.
Well, sure, comfort is nice, but
the logistics of luxury value are what matter here. A room of Verina Terra's exact physical caliber and service standard would easily cost you 1,200 euros a night, perched on the Caldera in Santorini. Paying 450 on Sifnos isn't isolating yourself. It is recognizing a massive inefficiency in the Mediterranean luxury market and taking full advantage of it.
I see the math. I understand the cost comparison.
You are acquiring top-tier hospitality without the manufactured, overpriced club scene nonsense of Mykonos. From a pure numbers perspective, it is a highly intelligent allocation of funds.
But I still think it shifts your psychological relationship to the island. When you pay that much, you expect the island to cater to you rather than you surrendering to the island. but I digress. Regardless of which zone you choose to sleep in, or whether your sheets are 800 thread count or standard cotton, your daily budget is ultimately going to be dominated by one specific pursuit: the island's food culture. Because you are here, Sifnos requires you to eat intentionally.
It does. It rewards culinary focus. And there are two signature historical dishes that are absolutely non-negotiable. If you leave the island without consuming both of these, you have made a fundamental error in your itinerary.
Let's list them. First is the Revithada.
Yes, we mentioned the baseline earlier. Chickpeas placed in an unglazed terracotta pot, completely sealed with a thick ring of flour dough to act as a natural pressure cooker, and then left to simmer overnight in a communal wood-fired oven.
Sounds incredible.
The absolute best iteration of this historical dish is found at a taverna called Osimos in Apollonia. It costs 7 to 9 euros.
And the second dish?
Second is Mastelo. This is a rich dish of lamb, heavily seasoned with dill, bathed in white wine, and again sealed in a specific ceramic pot and slow-cooked until it falls off the bone. You go to Revithada Cafe restaurant up in the hills to experience this properly. Expect to pay 12 to 16 euros.
The mechanics of how those dishes are made is what fascinates me. What I love is that both the Revithada and the Mastelo are cooked in the local ceramics that Sifnos has been famous for producing for centuries.
The clay is deeply tied to the food.
The rich clay of the island's hillsides is shaped into pots. Those pots are used to cook the local lamb and chickpeas, and then you eat it. The food and the local craft are literally the exact same story. It is a closed-loop system of culture.
Very efficient.
Now, beyond those deeply traditional tavernas, there is a fascinating restaurant hierarchy emerging on the island. Omega-3 in Platis Jalos is a genuine institution. You are sitting at tables placed right on the sand, eating highly elevated seafood.
It's very popular.
Then there is Cantina, which operates on this incredible, rigorous, no-waste, elevated Cycladic philosophy. Up in Apollonia, Café Mosaic brings sharp contemporary precision to traditional Greek dishes. And for dessert, you must go to Theodora's Sweet Shop in Apollonia.
Oh, their sweets are highly rated.
You literally have local grandmothers in the back making loukoumades, these perfect honey-soaked dough balls, and bugatsa completely from scratch.
But it is crucial to note that you do not have to eat fine dining to eat well. The budget eating infrastructure on Sifnos is structurally very sound. If you wake up and go to the local bakeries in Apollonia or Artemonas at 8 a.m., you can secure a massive, freshly baked spanakopita for 2.50 euros, a rich tirapita for 2 euros, or a simple, crusty sesame koulouri for just 1.20 euro.
The bakeries are lifesavers.
If you need a heavy lunch, a stacked pork gyros down in the port of Kamaris is only 3.50 euros to 4.50 euros.
And when it comes to sitting down for dinner, the pricing is almost entirely dictated by location, not necessarily the quality of the food.
Location premium is everything.
A fantastic, authentic taverna dinner in the winding alleys of Apollonia, complete with a half-liter of house wine, will run you a very reasonable 22 to 32 euros per person.
Yeah.
But if you take that exact same appetite and sit at a flashy, tourist-facing waterfront spot down on the Kamaris port watching the boats come in, you will easily pay 45 to 65 euros per person for the exact same volume of food.
Yep.
The real estate of your table determines the price, not the quality of the ingredients on your plate.
Exactly. The waterfront premium is universally applicable, and if you are self-catering in an apartment or just grocery shopping for snacks, the local produce is exceptional and highly affordable.
What should people be buying?
You can buy authentic, locally pressed Sifnos olive oil directly from the Apollonia Cooperative for 8 to 12 euros per 500 milliliter bottle. Bottled water, which is a daily necessity, is just 70 cents for 1.5 liters in the local supermarket, compared to the absurd 3 to 4 euros you will pay if you lazily crack open your hotel minibar.
Never open the minibar.
Never. Furthermore, the Apollonia Morning Market provides incredible access to fresh produce and highly localized thyme honey.
Now, if you are going to interact with this food culture, there's an etiquette to eating here that you need to respect. First, tipping. A 10% tip left in cash on the table is standard and highly appreciated by the staff.
Standard European practice.
But the timing of the meals is what really catches North American and Northern European visitors completely off guard. Lunch is a long, drawn-out affair, usually sprawling from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. And dinner. Do not expect to find a vibrant dining room at 7 p.m. Dinner rarely, if ever, starts before 9 p.m.
Which throws off a lot of itineraries.
Oh, and a quick coffee tip. If you order a traditional Greek coffee, remember it comes completely unsweetened, incredibly bitter, unless you specifically order it glycos, which means sweet, or metrios, which means medium sweetness. You have to specify.
The 9 p.m. dinner time is a significant point of friction for a lot of visitors who are rigidly accustomed to eating at 6:30 p.m. They arrive at 7 p.m. expecting full service and find the staff eating their own meals.
But the 9 p.m. dinner isn't just some quirky cultural flex to sound sophisticated. I feel like people misunderstand this. It is an absolute biological necessity based on the climate.
Because of the heat.
Right. The heat in the middle of the day during the Greek summer is so intensely oppressive that your body physically cannot digest a heavy, wine-soaked lamb mastelo at 6 p.m. while the sun is still glaring. The island physically has to cool down. The stones have to radiate off the day's heat before the kitchens can heat up. It's human biology adapting to the environment, not culinary snobbery.
That makes practical sense.
Also, while we are talking about etiquette, remember to pack clothes that cover your shoulders and knees if you plan on stepping inside any of the churches or the Chrissopigi Monastery.
That is a fair and accurate assessment of the environmental impact on the culture. However, eating this intentionally and participating in this rhythm requires capital. We need to transition from the theory of the food to the reality of the wallet.
Yes, the budget breakdown.
I'm going to break down the exact out-of-pocket math for your daily survival on this island, segmented across our established budget tiers.
This is where the rubber meets the road. If I'm packing my bags for a 7-day trip, what is the actual damage to my bank account when I'm eating this well?
Starting with the low budget, which applies to the backpacker tier, you are looking at an all-in daily spend of 46 to 70 euros per day.
Okay, that's very reasonable.
The breakdown of that ecosystem looks like this. You are spending 15 to 25 euros on a basic bed. You are surviving on 15 to 22 euros for food by utilizing bakeries and gyros. You are allocating 4 to 6 euros for bus transport. You have 5 to 8 euros for small attractions or a coffee. You must pay the mandatory minimum climate tax of 4 euros. And you have 3 to 5 euros left for miscellaneous expenses.
Okay, so a backpacker can scrape by if they are disciplined. Next is the mid-budget, aimed at couples who want comfort but aren't flying private. That daily spend jumps to 94 to 142 euros per day per person. Let's look at how a day at that price point functions.
It changes the experience significantly.
It does. That factors in a beautiful room with a view at 45 to 65 euros per person. Your food budget scales up to 28 to 38 euros, allowing you to sit down for a proper taverna dinner with wine. You spend 8 to 12 euros on transport, maybe renting a scooter for the day. Attractions sit at 8 to 12 euros. The mandatory climate tax bumps up to 8 to 10 euros based on the hotel rating, and you have 5 euros in miscellaneous buffer.
Finally, we analyze the high budget, or luxury tier. If you demand premium service, you should budget 242 to 355 euros per day per person.
That's a big jump.
Your high-end accommodation absorbs 140 to 225 euros of that. Your food expands to 50 to 70 euros, allowing for premium seafood at omega-3. Transport is 15 to 20 euros, perhaps utilizing boat taxis. Attractions are 15 to 25 euros. The climate tax for 5-star properties reaches 12 to 15 euros a night. And you have 10 euros in miscellaneous spend.
What about long-term stays?
I should also interject a vital note on digital nomads. Sifnos is not a highly developed long-term hub. A basic studio in the shoulder season will run 600 to 900 euros per month. Factoring in living costs, your total monthly burn rate will be 1,400 to 1,900 euros. Logistically, it is best utilized as a focused 7 to 14-day reset, not a permanent, months-long base of operations.
When I look at those numbers, specifically that 142 euros a day for a mid-range trip, I always view it like an investment portfolio.
An investment?
Yeah, if you put 142 euros a day into Sifnos, the dividends aren't paid out in flashy, loud Instagram photos at overpriced beach clubs. The dividends are paid out entirely in rich flavor, in genuine, unhurried human connection at a family-run taverna, and in absolute restorative peace of mind. It's a return on investment that you just feel deep in your bones. It's deeply satisfying.
A nice poetic sentiment, but let me inject some logistical reality. Those daily budgets only look reasonable on paper until you get blindsided by the operational hazards of the island. There are 3 major logistics traps on Sifnos that absolutely ruin visitor budgets every single season, and we need to name them explicitly right now so our listeners don't fall into them.
Nobody likes a surprise charge on vacation. Walk us through these traps.
Trap number 1. The Greece climate tax surprise. We factored it into the daily budgets I just read, but the reality is most people do not know it exists until the moment they check out of their hotel.
It's the worst feeling.
Between the months of April and October, the Greek government mandates a 4 to 15 euro tax per room per night, scaled entirely based on the hotel's official star rating. The trap is that this fee is often not shown on your standard Booking.com or Expedia total at the time of purchase. It acts as a hidden surcharge.
So you think you've paid in full.
Exactly. It adds a sudden 56 to 105 euros to a standard mid-range 7-night bill and a hefty 100 to 150 euros for luxury stays. You must budget this upfront because it will be added to your credit card at checkout by law, and it is entirely non-negotiable.
That is exactly the kind of fee that makes your stomach drop when you're standing at the reception desk with your luggage. Okay, what is trap number 2?
Trap number 2 is the August ferry and accommodation blackout. Because Sifnos deliberately protected its landscape and has no massive 500-room resort complexes, the finite stock of available beds literally sells out by March or April.
Just totally gone.
Yes. If you casually wait until June to book an August trip, assuming you'll find a last-minute deal, you will be faced with 2 options: sleeping on a public beach or paying utterly extortionate rates for a leftover suboptimal villa.
Neither sounds good.
The fix for this blackout is simple and requires discipline. Book your ferry and your bed simultaneously in February or March, or, vastly better yet, just execute the strategy we discussed and move your trip to late September, instantly enjoying a 25% to 40% price drop.
So trap 1 is hidden fees. Trap 2 is lack of supply. What is the third trap?
Trap number 3, the ceramic market tourist markup. We discussed the beautiful clay pots used for the local dishes. Down in the Camaries port, where the tourists funnel off the ferries, the waterfront shops sell those beautiful, iconic Revithada pots for 25 to 65 euros, and smaller decorative pieces for 15 to 30 euros.
They're gorgeous pieces.
But the trap is geographic ignorance. If you literally just catch the bus and walk 2 streets up to the actual artisan cooperatives and studios in Apollonia or Artemonas, the price drops by an astounding 40% to 60% for the exact same maker's work. The port markup is an absolute scam designed to extract capital from lazy tourists.
Okay, I am stopping you right there. I completely disagree with you casually throwing around the word scam or labeling this a malicious markup.
It's a 60% difference for the same item.
Think about the reality of the situation. Paying 65 euros down in the port is just the standard convenience tax of being a tourist. The shop owner on the waterfront pays significantly higher commercial rent to be visible to the ferry traffic. Furthermore, they're providing you the physical luxury of not having to haul a heavy, fragile clay pot on a crowded, swaying bus all the way back down from Artemonas.
A convenience tax.
Yes! We shouldn't aggressively shame people who want to buy a beautiful piece of pottery right where their ferry departs so they can immediately carry it onto the boat. It's a convenience fee for ease of travel, not a scam.
It is a gross economic inefficiency. If a traveler is clearly informed that a simple 20-minute bus ride saves them 50% on authentic local craft and allows them to hand their money directly to the artisan who molded the clay, letting them buy it at the port without warning them is a failure of travel logistics.
Well, people can choose convenience if they want to.
But regardless of whether you want to knowingly overpay for ceramics, keeping your wallet safe from markups is only one part of the equation. We have to analyze how the island actually performs when it comes to your physical safety and comfort on the ground.
Absolutely, because feeling safe is the prerequisite to actually relaxing. When it comes to traditional crime theft, pickpocketing, things you worry about in major European capitals on Sifnos, it is remarkable. It is effectively non-existent. The island is so small, and the community is so tight-knit and historically connected that the residents just enforce their own standards. People leave their doors unlocked.
While crime is low, the physical risks are very real, and they almost universally involve tourists making overconfident, bad decisions.
Like the scooters.
Scooters are the primary hazard on the island. The roads connecting the villages are narrow, they are often entirely unlit at night, and they feature sharp, blind corners. Furthermore, rental scooters can suffer from poor mechanical maintenance.
You have to be careful.
If you rent one, you must physically check the brakes and tires before you leave the lot. You must actively reduce your speed. Never ride in the mountains at night. And crucially, while helmet laws are mandatory across Greece, the locals routinely ignore them. Do not copy the locals. Wear the helmet. The hospital infrastructure cannot handle severe head trauma.
That is a stark, necessary warning. You also have to deeply respect the environment, specifically the sun. Sun exposure here during the day is serious. The breeze off the sea masks how much radiation you are absorbing. You need factor 50 sunscreen applied constantly, copious amounts of bottled water, and a wide-brimmed hat.
Hydration is critical.
Now, shifting to a brighter note, I want to talk about solo female travel, because Sifnos is spectacular for it. The fact that the nightlife revolves entirely around the taverna culture means socializing happens naturally around communal tables, not in dark, thumping nightclubs.
It changes the dynamic.
It's a highly respectful, community-driven local culture. During the September festival, solo travelers frequently find themselves warmly invited to just pull up a chair and join large communal tables by the locals. It feels incredibly safe.
Analyzing the island for family comfort, the verdict is heavily age-dependent. It is a highly functioning environment for kids over 8 years old. Platisgialos has calm, shallow water that is exceptionally safe for swimming, and Petali Village in Artemonas is an excellent spacious base.
For little kids.
The logistics make it incredible.
Going back to what I said a moment ago about the community enforcing its own standards, I want to zoom in on that concept because it's fascinating.
It is unique.
On one hand, hearing that there is no crime because everyone sounds incredibly comforting, right? It sounds like a village from a century ago. But on the other hand, is that a little bit claustrophobic? The idea that an entire island is watching you, observing your behavior, and silently judging whether you fit into their established rhythm.
It is only claustrophobic if you arrive trying to aggressively impose your own will on the island.
What do you mean?
If you go to Sifnos, expecting to throw loud villa parties, demand service at odd hours, and ride ATVs through the quiet villages at 2 a.m., the community will push back, and you will feel that judgment. However, if you go simply to eat well, hike the ancient trails, and relax within their systems, that community oversight feels like a warm, protective blanket. It is the very mechanism that keeps the island safe and pristine.
That's a really great distinction. You have to surrender to the island, not conquer it. And feeling secure in that environment allows you to fully open up to the island's ultimate highs. But it also means we need to be totally clear-eyed about where Sifnos might actually let you down. We need to talk about the absolute best moments you can have here, but also the honest, brutal disappointments.
Let's start by establishing the highs. Best moment one is the experience of standing in Kastro at 6 p.m. in late September.
Oh, Kastro is beautiful.
Kastro is an ancient settlement featuring these incredible sheer 15th century defensive walls, and it provides sweeping, elevated views across the water all the way to the neighboring island of Paros. The optimal execution is to go to the small local village shop, buy a €6 glass of local Assyrtiko wine, and just watch the setting sun physically change the color of the ancient stone from stark white to deep gold. It is a flawless, low-cost experience.
Best moment, too, is visiting the Chrissopigi Monastery. It's this iconic, striking building built right out on a dramatic 17th century rock promontory stretching out into the sea. There is absolutely no entry fee to walk the grounds. You want to time your visit for early in the morning or late in the afternoon to beat the brutal midday heat, and when you stand out there, surrounded by water on 3 sides, it feels deeply spiritual and completely disconnected from the modern world.
It's a major highlight.
And of course, best moment 3 has to be the September Gastronomy Festival, the incredible access to free food, watching master chefs cooking in the open air, the smell of roasted lamb, the 9 p.m. outdoor concerts playing traditional music. It's just joyous. It is a celebration of life.
But we promised our listeners brutal empirical honesty, so we must detail the operational disappointments.
Okay, hit us.
Disappointment 1, the beaches. If you are a beach aficionado, you need to hear this. Platisgialos is functionally fine. It is sandy, it is clean. But it is emphatically not a world-class beach. It is nowhere near the geological level of neighboring Milos. You'll absolutely not find dramatic, mind-bending landscapes like Sarakyniko, Sagrado, or Firoplaka anywhere on Sifnos.
And disappointment 2 is the beach at Vathy. If you look at travel blogs, you see pictures of this stunning, completely isolated, perfect blue cove, and you think, oh, amazing, I'll just pop over there after lunch.
But you can.
What the beautiful photos completely fail to tell you is the grueling logistics of the journey. Getting to Vathy requires either a punishing 4 to 5 hour hike across the arid hills, or you have to track down and pay for a 15 to 20 euro boat taxi each way. It is not a casual, quick afternoon stroll. It's like looking at a glossy magazine spread of a Himalayan peak. It looks incredibly tranquil and perfect from the page, but getting there requires blistered feet, serious sweat, and a lot of unglamorous effort.
Precisely. The visual reward requires immense physical or financial exertion. And if those honest disappointments about the lack of world-class, easily accessible beaches sound like absolute dial breakers to your specific travel priorities, then you need to logically look at the immediate alternatives in the Cyclades, because the region has answers for those specific needs.
Let's look at the alternatives, starting with Alternative 1 Milos.
Milos sits on the exact same Piraeus ferry line as Sifnos. It is literally just one stop further down the route. If striking world-class beaches are your absolute non-negotiable priority, Milos is exactly where you must go.
For sure.
It features that incredible, deeply photographed lunar white volcanic rock at Sarakinico, plus the stunning geography of Furiplaka and Sagrado. It does come at a premium financial cost due to its rising popularity, but in a direct comparison, Milos wins on beaches entirely. Sifnos wins on food and hiking.
Alternative 2 is Naxos. Naxos is the optimal choice for families and first-timers who really want established, varied infrastructure. It's about 4 to 5 hours from Piraeus. It is a massive island with huge geographic variety, and crucially, budget rooms start at just €25 a night. Plus, it features the sprawling Agios Prokopios beach, which is perfect for kids. Naxos is for a traveler who needs massive flexibility. Sifnos is for a traveler who wants deep intentionality.
The distinction in utility between the three islands is highly clear and measurable.
But let me ask you a hard logistical question. Let's really analyze this. If Milos is literally on the exact same ferry line, you don't even have to drag your bags off and change boats, and we just admitted that the beaches are undeniably, objectively better, why wouldn't 100% of people just stay on the boat one stop longer? Why physically get off at Sifnos at all? Make the case.
Because a beach is just geography, whereas a culinary tradition is a living, breathing culture. You get off the boat at Sifnos because you recognize that a perfectly executed plate of slow-cooked lamb in a 100-year-old ceramic pot, eaten in a quiet, whitewashed village square while the church bells ring, provides a deeper, vastly more resonant travel memory than just lying flat on a piece of white volcanic rock for 6 hours.
Yeah, it's a great image.
You get off the boat for the depth of the human experience, not just the surface-level visual aesthetic. Sifnos offers cultural participation. Milos offers geographic observation.
Beautifully said. You get off the boat for the depth. Which brings us to the final calculation of this deep dive, the matrix. We have laid out the facts, the costs, the highs, and the traps. Who should actually pull out their credit card and click book on this island? Let's run through our definitive verdict.
Let's execute the matrix. Backpacker, yes, with conditions. At an optimized 46 to 70 euros a day, it works financially. But the conditions are strict. You need to explicitly time your visit for the September festival to maximize the free food value. You must book your hostel bed well in advance of the summer rush, and you have to philosophically accept that the beaches are a secondary attraction.
Midrange couple, yes. A massive, definitive yes. At an incredibly reasonable 85 to 115 euros a day, hitting beautiful spots like Smaragdi or Gerafinikas, eating extraordinary dinners at Omega-3 and Cantina, it is genuinely impossible to replicate this specific high-quality value anywhere else in the Mediterranean right now. Sifnos was practically designed for this demographic.
Family, yes, with conditions. As analyzed, it is great for kids over 8. Petali Village provides a fantastic, secure base. But if you have toddlers under 5, the physical logistics of the island stairs, lack of pavements, and late dining will completely give you. If you have a toddler, go to Naxos instead.
Luxury, yes, with conditions. Staying at Varina Terra and Naval offers an incredible, refined aesthetic that operates 40% to 60% below Santorini prices. But the mandatory condition is knowing what Sifnos luxury actually is. It is quiet, whitewashed, elegant, subtle luxury. If you arrive wanting a thumping DJ, bottle service, and a massive infinity pool party vibe, you will be profoundly disappointed.
Digital nomad, yes, with conditions. You should only utilize Sifnos as a tightly bound 7 to 14-day mental reset. At 600 to 900 euros for a shoulder season studio, it is a brilliant short-term retreat to clear your head. It is absolutely not a long-term co-working hub with fiber optic internet and networking events.
I love how definitive that matrix is. It really captures the island's entire ethos in this incredibly practical, usable framework. You absolutely have to meet Sifnos exactly where it is. You can't force it to be something else.
That is the very essence of good travel logistics. You match the destination's empirical reality to your specific psychological and financial needs.
Exactly. But before we wrap this deep dive up and let you get back to your day, I want to leave you with one final, slightly provocative thought to mull over. We spent this entire hour extensively praising the Tselementes effect and Sifnos' pristine, unyielding culinary standard. But you have to wonder, as you look at the trajectory of global travel, will that baseline standard actually survive the next generation of highly globalized, Instagram-driven tourism?
It's a real threat.
Right. When the immense financial pressure to cater to quick viral food trends mounts and a new generation inherits these tavernas, will the local chefs hold the line on a 1910 cookbook? Or are we simply looking at a beautiful, incredibly fragile culinary time capsule that won't last another decade before it starts looking like everywhere else? It's something to seriously think about if you're deciding whether to book a ticket for 2026 or vaguely wait for some day in the future.
That is the honest verdict from Phil and H.